My tablet is starting, so soon I'll be reading my mailbox to see if I received new messages. I haven't received any messages past days. If you did send an email, that means I didn't receive it. Please send it again. Or there's also the option to just give a comment, but I prefer you sending an email when you have questions. But okay. In this video, I want to talk about this attitude that a lot of folks have to point the finger to the narcissist or to the psychopath or to whatever the perpetrator is. If there is a perpetrator and he conducted harm, let me say he conducted in a manner that caused harm to the community, then he is to blame. That's natural, okay, to point the finger at them because he's to blame. But there is this saying in the world: whenever you point to someone, there are three fingers pointing back. I'm not sure if I used that allegory before in my videos, but I'm going to use it now. Okay, so let's say there is this, I'm going to give an example, this child molester that raped over 200 children. He even kidnaps some children. The age was between 2 and 6 years old. Very young. He traumatized hundreds of human beings for life. It's even a question if those human beings would ever be fully recovered from what happened to them. And those are hundreds of children, so he harmed the whole community, straight up. So it's easy for people to become angry and enraged and point a finger to the child molester. But there are three fingers pointing back, right? So when a community points to the perpetrator, there are some questions that need to be asked. How long did he have to do his dirty thing? Oh, he did it in a span of 12 years. Oh, so within 12 years, he was like a beast. He was wild. How did he come in contact with the children? Oh, he worked at a swimming pool. He was giving swimming lessons to children. Okay. So that's how he got in contact with the children. Okay, that's accounted for. Who were his friends? Who were his relatives? Don't tell me someone is active in such a dirty thing and nobody noticed anything weird about their behavior. Well, the friends and family, they don't want to talk about it. Why they don't want to talk about it? Someone was conducting horrible crimes on the community and they were involved with that individual. They should have noticed something. Well, Rashid, for privacy reasons, we can't really demand those people. No. Don't come with this privacy BS. The community has been harmed over time, and this harm could not have happened unless it was enabled. Some of the parents who found out their children was molested, okay, they're not guilty. They are shocked. They are victimized also. But the people that were close to the perpetrator, question them. You're not going to tell me that if someone was so deep involved in darkness that nobody around them noticed anything. Because every dark figure gives off a negative vibration. So everyone around them will be affected by that negative vibration. So if someone is deeply involved in negativity, they will emit this negativity to their environment as a spirit being. So everyone around them everyone is affected. Okay? So if those around them are affected by negativity, so they must also be involved in negativity for them to remain comfortable around him. Because any decent individual who has no knowledge of what he was doing would sense that weird vibe and get away from that individual. And then later you find out that there were people that knew what he was doing, but they wanted to mind their own business. They wanted to get approval from society. And society taught them to mind their own business. Society taught them not to cause any disruption. So they didn't want to disrupt the peace. They just wanted to go to their job, get at home, had their sex partner, whether it's their wife or girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, that they had a quality time with. They had some friends that they laughed with. So they thought, I'm part of society, things are going well, I don't want to disrupt this, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut. So those people enabled the harm that's going on in the community. So they sold out the community to maintain their relief. That's also a form of selling people out. There are people that sell their children out. They transfer the expectations of society onto the children without questioning them. And they don't even teach their children question things that society teaches you. No, they want approval from society, so they will mold their children in such a way that society approves of their children, even if it means making their children susceptible to predators. There are folks doing such things. So the real issue, the real problem is not the perpetrator. And you shouldn't even focus on what the perpetrator did. Who enabled it? Look at the enablers. Okay, let's say now that you walk. No. I'm going to tell something that happened one time in a tram. There was this family, mother, father, and a small daughter. And the small daughter was a bit nervous, so the father began to scream at the child, began to shake the child. And there was this foreigner in the tram. He was a man. He was quite heavy. I'm not sure whether he was into lifting weights, but he stood up and said, now it's done. You're not going to treat that child like that. She has feelings also. And then the father backed down. The man that, let me say this, I won't say security guard, but the guy that checked the tickets in the tram came just to keep things calm. But everyone around was quite shocked that foreigner stood up on behalf of the child. He was willing to fight the father if the father would have resisted. Now what happened here? There's an obvious violation going on in front of them, but people just want to be left alone, so they allow it to happen. Because if everyone would have looked at the man while he was doing it, the man would have sensed the anger from those people on him and he would have backed down. But no, they don't want to be bothered. They have pity on themselves that they're witnessing a child being harmed. They don't have pity on the child, they have pity on themselves that now they have to face it. So they have this narcissistic attitude. And they enable child abuse. This doesn't only happen with child abuse, it happens with a lot of things in society. It happens with corrupt leaders. It happens with exploitation at jobs. All the evil, all the violence that continues on the earth only continues because many human beings enable it. If even a small portion of the human population would rise up and said it's enough, then it all stops. So if in a community violence kept going on, don't just look at the perpetrator. I know the perpetrator is guilty. We know that. You don't have to emphasize that. But why is it people often emphasize the guilt of the perpetrator? Because by highlighting the guilt of the perpetrator, all the attention goes to the perpetrator about how horrible the perpetrator is, what type of monster or piece of he is. I'm not going to say the word because I'm not into labeling people with excrement. I'm not into that, but that's what the media does. That's what a lot of folks do. But seldom people ask who enabled it, especially if it's harm that continued over time. If it's an incident, it's an incident, okay? If someone just snapped, okay, if they snapped, you couldn't see that coming. But if there is violence that perpetrated over time, someone enabled it and someone has to give an account. Look, I'm not saying that every time you see some injustice, you need to jump in the situation. No. I've made a video earlier. Remain in prayer and let the Holy Spirit guide you. Sometimes your presence as a believer itself hinders injustice because the power that comes out of you frustrates darkness. That's why evildoers that are deeply involved in evil, they hate believers very much. Because sometimes even your presence can hinder them. It can be there's a shop and someone is about to rob that place, but because you are there as a believer, they can't come. Or it can be that your neighbor is a wife beater, but because you live as a neighbor there, every day when he wants to raise his hand, he feels uncomfortable because for some reason your impact frustrates his evil doing. But apart from that, anytime violence continues for a while, there's a cycle has developed. Because violence can only exist in a cycle. You have violent incidents, that's just an incident, but when you have violence that continues, it has to happen in a cycle. And a cycle can only exist because it's enabled. I don't think that the victims are enabling it. Often the victims are just the victims, but the people around enable it. There's a difference between not knowing what to do and not wanting to endanger yourself. That's a legitimate reason not to do something. But there comes a point that you realize, hold on a minute, if I can't do something myself, I can at least highlight that something is wrong here. You get what I'm saying? Let's say that you have a guy that's, let's say he's chased by 3 drug dealers, and the drug dealers are armed. Then for you to intervene, it would you endanger your life. But you can scream for a while, point a finger there, and then when the crowd looks, the drug dealers are terrified because they don't have a lot of attention on them. So now they're gone. So even if you're not involved directly physically or verbally, you can still do something. I'm not saying this to make you feel guilty, because I'm not into guilt. Absolutely not. What I'm pointing out is stop. Let me say this. Give me a moment. Stop objectifying the perpetrator. Yeah, that's right. Stop objectifying the perpetrator. Stop being obsessed with the perpetrator. A lot of people who want to catch bad guys are so obsessed with catching bad guys that they don't realize who are enabling the bad guys. Listen, when you have someone that loses their mind, they pick up a gun and begin to shoot at a school, nobody in the right mind does that. Why? How did they get a gun? That's one thing. But apart from that, they were obviously self-destructive. How did they become self-destructive? Where did they grow up? Oh, they were targeted with verbal violence as a kid. Oh, so their family members permitted it, their peers permitted it, the people from school will notice that something was wrong when the kid permitted it. Oh, so they all allowed it to happen. So yes, he escalated. He shot all those people. But don't just focus on him. He didn't turn out like that by himself. Who made it possible? Look, if I have a bank account, and I have a bank account. Actually, I have more than one bank account, but I'm not saying more than that. Let's say that I notice that on one of my bank accounts, I see money that I can't explain. And then a few days later, the money is gone. Then I know my bank account is used by some hacker or some criminal to transfer their criminal cash flow. What should I do? If I didn't find out and it happened without me being aware of it, I would be the victim that was used. Okay? And such things happen. But the moment I notice it, the judge is going to hold me accountable, saying, Rashid, why didn't you inform us? What if the money they were transferring through you was used to kill other people? So I would be sentenced also by the court of law for neglecting to comply with justice. Yes, when you when you are neglectful concerning your duties towards concerning your obligations towards the community, the judge can sentence you. Rightfully so. So the moment I notice on my bank account something's going on that ain't right, I'm reporting it. And the bank is obliged to inform the police that something is wrong. And then they go after it. That's the only thing I can do, is to point out something is wrong. More I cannot do because I don't know what's going on. But what I can do, if it's a small thing, I ought to do it. Because if I don't, I'll be arrested also. That's how it goes out there. So, even the satanic governments of this world understand this. That when you enable criminal activity is the same as participating in the criminal activity. And depending on how much you've enabled and how much you knew, you'll be sentenced also. They won't leave you off the hook. They won't. If I knew that Joe wanted to kill Frank, and he was talking about it, he was murmuring about it, but I kept my mouth shut, and later something happened to Frank, then what's going to happen then? In that case, I would be fined, or I may have to spend some time in jail. I may not receive the same sentence as someone that did the crime, but you'll be charged also. And we agree with that when the legal systems do this. But why is it that when common folks neglect their natural obligations towards the community, why is it we let them off the hook? Why? That is why iniquity abounds in the world. That's why you have generational curses. And that's why in churches people don't find any deliverance. Because churches are part of the enablement system. Not every church, but in general it is. And that's why I've mentioned this in a video I made, I think it's almost around 2 years ago already. In that video I made plain that gossipers and busybodies, they have a functional purpose in society, or better in the human community. I don't agree with the gossip. I don't agree with their meddling in all kinds of affairs. I'm not agreeing with that. But they are realistic, they are practical, they are alert, they notice things around them. And when they notice that something doesn't end up, they inform others. They inform others through gossip or by just getting involved in a situation. And by the way, just getting into a situation is not a wise thing to do. Because if one of the individuals is a narcissist that's about to explode and you jump in a situation, you can become a target also. But anyway, they reveal that something doesn't add up. Let me tell you one thing here. Many perpetrators are only caught due to gossipers. Am I saying go out and gossip? No, I'm not saying that. But gossipers have their beneficial purpose to the community, even though that beneficial purpose is not something people often see. The gossipers and busybodies, they are realistic. They just don't act out their realistic attitude in a practical manner. Look, you can better have a busybody who's a gossiper than that you have 100 folks who hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. Because if you have that, then be guaranteed that demons can just do whatever they want because they have a base that supports them. Yes, when you have perpetrators and have a population that enables them, that's their base. That's their supporters. Am I saying to embrace gossip? No. But you'd rather have a gossiper around you who reveals when things are wrong than that you have someone who's having their own business seeking validation from society at the expense of the community. Such folks are sellouts. They will sell you out like Judas did to maintain the validation from society. So, do you recognize a Judas? Was it for now? Agree with Christ. Be at peace.